Pastor, 2017 was a major prophetic year with the Balfour Declaration anniversary, the anniversary of the Six-Day War, the reunification of Jerusalem. But 2018 marks the 70-year anniversary of the modern rebirth of the nation of Israel. Tell us what that means to you personally, and tell us what it means to God prophetically.
The Old Testament teaches that God measures time in modules of 50 years, calling Jubilee years. And those Jubilee years only count when the Jewish people are in the land of Israel. So you could say it this way, that Israel is God's prophetic clock. So 1917 was the Balfour Declaration, whenever Europe, the British, gave the Jewish people a homeland. The Jewish people came from 66 nations, and they came to this little strip of dirt on the edge of the Mediterranean Sea, and they had the chance to become a nation. That was 1917. God's prophetic clock starts. Add 50 to 1917, and you have 1967, where Jerusalem was brought back to Israel, and Israel became a nation again, unlike anything that's ever happened since 70 A.D., when Titus and the Romans drove the Jews out of Jerusalem principally. You put 50 years onto 1967, and you're looking at 2017. That's right now in the time of history. So something dramatic is getting ready to happen in the Middle East. Russia is there now. They're working overtime to build military installations and jet airfields and get the technology of the Syrians and the Iranians up to speed so that this next battle with Israel can be the most vicious and far-reaching battle of our lifetime.
Well, Pastor, late in 2017, we had a major victory when President Trump announced that he would be moving the American embassy to Jerusalem, where it belongs. Now, our team at Christians United for Israel has been behind this move since before it was even announced. Where are we at now with that? This seems like a very positive development.
They have the plans to build a wing onto the consulate in Israel, and our embassy will officially move. And people say, well, what's the big deal? Here's the big deal, that America has its embassy in every nation on the face of the earth in their capital city. We have our embassies in the capital city of tin-horn dictators and thugs, and we honor them by putting our embassy in their capital city. But in our, quote, best friend in the Middle East, Israel, we don't honor them in such a fashion because we're afraid of what other nations may say. Other nations should not affect the sovereign will of the United States of America. So we are finally showing a little spine in the Trump administration and putting that embassy in the capital city, and we're saying to the nations of the world, we stand with Israel. And we stand for their right to exist. And we're standing for their right to defend themselves. And we're standing for the right for their borders to be secure.
Pastor, Israel has a friend in the White House. Christians United for Israel has a friend in the White House in President Trump. And now our movement is really gaining momentum. We're at nearly 4 million members now. We have our Washington Summit coming up. We're in Washington, D.C. right now as we speak doing this interview. But tell our viewers, Pastor, why it's so important for them to come to Washington, D.C. on July 23rd and 24th for our annual CUFI Washington Summit.
Never in the history of the world has Israel needed to hear the voices of the American people saying, we stand with Israel. The Jewish people know that they are now surrounded by Russia, which is a superpower, and Iran that's trying to become an atomic power, and fanatics that are screaming for their blood every day. They do feel isolated. They are comforted by the fact that Christians United for Israel has 4 million people that are supporting them here. But when we gather in Washington, D.C., and are there by the thousands, and they can see it on international television, it sends a supercharge of hope and inspiration to them that we as American Christians do stand with Israel. For Zion's sake we will not be silent, and for Jerusalem's sake we will not be quiet. When the Bible says, comfort ye my people, saith the Lord, there are two people there. One is a comforter, and one is being comforted. The one being comforted is Israel. We are the comforter. We are the superpower. And this is our time as Christians to put our faith into action and really do more than just pray for the peace of Jerusalem in our house and forget it.
Well, Pastor, we live in momentous times. Thanks so much for joining us once again here on The Watchman Show.
God bless you. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks again to CUFI's founder and chairman, Pastor John Hagee, for joining us. Christians United for Israel, the movement he founded, recently celebrated its 12th anniversary, and we are now up to nearly 4 million members. God is moving. Well, up next, we talk to a member of CUFI's executive board who has been with us from the very beginning. Why should you stand with Israel? Bishop Keith Butler has the answer after the break. Stick around.